Hi, I'm Professor Brian Rogers, and welcome to my Communications Neighborhood. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining me here on a lovely day in Manhattan. It's Friday, it's sunny outside, it's gorgeous. I'm gonna take a hot yoga class after I finish up with this video, so I'm really excited about that. But I wanted to get this one made because we've been talking about some other things recently, and this is sort of the big key third main part to some of our previous discussions. Thus far, we've talked about the importance of having a lot of good information about the company so that you can have a good, full, robust conversation about what's going on at the company and understand the environment and the culture there. Number two, we talked a lot about the job. What are the three most important skills about that job that are going to make someone successful from the standpoint of the company, right? So again, we're looking at this from the company's perspective. What do they think the three most important skills are for someone to be successful in the role? Thinking about ourselves, what we're going to talk about with regards to our three skills. So what are the three skills we want to make sure that we communicate to the employer by the time the interview is over? I'm using three skills. Why three? Well, it keeps it relatively easy, keeps it concise. You can be strategic with your stories, and you can do things repetitively, so you can kind of get these points in over and over again. More than that, if you get to 7, 8, 9 things you're trying to convince them, it's too much. But let's start with three main skills. The three main skills that you should be highlighting about yourself more or less should be the three same skills that the company thinks are important for someone to be successful in that role. Let me use the example of my students at Fordham. They're all quantitative finance students. They're all going to be looking for jobs on Wall Street and hedge funds and investment banks, insurance companies, things like that. So using these kind of skills and going for those kinds of roles, what do they want to highlight about themselves? Well, first and foremost, quantitative skills. They're looking for people that can do high-level math, calculate formulas, build algorithms, etc. These guys need to be able to show that. Number two, computer programming skills. They're doing all this in a computer environment and they're modeling all this. So they have to have computer programming skills. Number three gets a little tricky because there's two things that are really important. One area would be communication skills. The other area would be finance knowledge. It's hard for me to argue that one is more important than the other. They're both very important. So maybe in the case of my students, they start to build towards four things: knowledge of finance and really strong communication skills. Once they've established what those three skills are, maybe four skills, then comes the hard part. This is where the work really kicks in. What you want to do now is take your resume and look at it. Look at it section by section. And section by section, what I mean is really every major experience you have on there. So every job, every university experience, every major internship or volunteer work or whatever you've got on there, projects, etc. Go through those and start thinking about really good stories that you can tell that will really help bring that experience to life. Now, there's a trick to these stories. One, they have to be good stories, a good beginning, a good middle, and a good end. There needs to be some drama. There needs to be good details. Personal stories. Use people's names. Tell about real things that happen. Make it really vivid and clear so that people really can get engaged and get involved. The other thing is that the point of the story needs to be that it is illustrating one of these three skills or maybe multiple of these three skills. For example, one of my students might talk about a project they did in college with a professor of theirs that was analyzing stocks, and they used a certain kind of computer programming language to write a very sophisticated model that analyzed a certain market and produced a certain output. Part of the difficulty here was that the professor was really busy, and so they had to find different times to meet outside of school, and they had to meet from time to time in the computer lab. So there was a lot of different coordination, and it really was difficult for the student to coordinate things with the professor, but they did. And so in delivering a good story like this, what the guy can show is good computer skills, good quant skills, good communication and scheduling skills, attention to detail, things like that, all in one good story. So this one good story that he can develop for one particular section of his resume is then going to sort of cover that section of his resume. If he's asked about it, he's got this great story that he can use and talk about to illustrate what he did. The other thing that comes up though is that now you've got that story demonstrates a lot of things: computer skills, quant skills, communication skills, etc. So you can use that story now if you're asked about those things. Tell me about a time when you really had to use good communication skills. Tell me about a time when you used a computer program to calculate some sort of mathematical output regarding stocks or regarding some sort of financial indices. So you can use it to demonstrate a lot of things once you build these stories. So you're going to want to go through your resume section by section, item by item, and come up with good stories. At least one, probably two, multiple stories. So now you start to do the math. Let's say that you have on average 7, 8, 10 different sections on your resume. Most people do. If you had one story per section, you're talking about 7 or 8, 9 stories, 10 stories per each section of your resume that you need to sit down and develop. Each story needs to be about 2 to 3 minutes in length. When you're answering these in the interview, you don't have all day, you can't ramble on. 2 to 3 minutes is a pretty good time frame. You can go a little outside of that, but you want to stay in that 2 to 3 minute range. So 2 to 3 minutes for about 10 stories. You're talking 20, 30 minutes now of the interview taken up just with stories that you've already can prepare in advance, that you can think about, that you can design and develop so they have a good story arc, a good beginning, middle, and end. And now you've got a lot of your time in the interview covered with stories that demonstrate skills that you want to be demonstrating to the employer. All right. So this is a lot about building the 3 skills for yourself, but this is where it gets deep. This is where you really have to start doing some work. It's not easy, but it's really worth it. When you walk in to an interview and you've got 10 plus really good stories about your background that also relate to really good skills that the employer is looking for you to have for this role, you really start to get confident about what you're going to say, how you can say it, how you can deliver it, and what it's going to mean for you. It doesn't mean you're going to get every job offer that you go on, but it certainly means your confidence in front of the interviewer is going to go way up. So this is a big part of it. The video today is a little bit longer than usual. Anyone, if you have any questions, send me an email, put the questions in the comments and I'll respond to them there. At the end of the day, this is one of the most important things that you do in preparing for an interview. Coming up with good stories, good narratives that bring your background, bring your past, bring your resume to life. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching this video. If you have any questions, again, leave them in the comments or send me an email. Please subscribe, please share, please like these videos if you get any value from them. Have a great weekend, and I'll speak to everyone soon.